Hi everyone, and welcome to Kathleen's AR card. This is a presentation for XR Terra week 2 through 4 of our AR project. And this is where we worked with Unity, Visual Studio, specifically C#, Blender, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, and Adobe Mixamo. Now, what was the motivation behind Kathleen's AR card? I view myself as a creative ninja, and I have a series of cards that represent me. I'm a game changer, strategist, disruptor, and playmaker. I've handed these cards out at all sorts of conferences, friends, even on dates, those lucky ducks, and just random people I've met while traveling around the world. So these things are just floating around. And I thought, how cool would it be if they could download an app along with these cards, and then make the cards themselves come to life? And imagine not getting just a piece of cardboard, but you get a whole hologram version of me to tell you a bit more about who I am. Who doesn't want that? Especially all those wonderful dates I was on. So I'm going to let myself from 4 weeks ago tell you a little bit more about what I planned to do. So some people may know that I have a series of cards that are really all about me and my brand. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun to use AR to actually make these cards come to life? And what you can see right now, just simple little prototypes where there's going to just be shapes that pop up on them. But imagine instead if I was going around handing out these cards to people and I popped out of them and I came to life. How exciting! And an exciting, sometimes challenging, 4 weeks it's been. I've had to brush off my old coding skills, but I found them essential to make my vision come to life. Now, I'll walk you through the workflow. When I first started brainstorming, I really wanted to keep on brand with myself. I have my website, kwavecreative.com, and I decided to reuse those colors because they're very consistent with everything else that I do. I also wanted to use my cards that you saw, and those were going to be the image targets in the project themselves. I had a very specific font that I've used on the cards, and I wanted to carry that through this AR experience. I also wanted to integrate some of the videos I've made into this AR experience, especially one where I taught myself stop motion. And I had help from a few of my friends. One of them was the director of the Army Lab. We had an Army guy himself. We had Sally, who was one of the division chiefs. And don't forget our handy dandy business architecture capabilities. I spent all summer working with that team, making sure that they could walk, climb stairs, and knock down walls to knock down silos in your organization using business architecture. And I wanted to make sure that that video and the excitement of it was included in the AR experience. Now at this point, I decided that I wanted to make everything look and feel like a video game. Designing the app flow itself, I wanted to kind of add in a home screen, and that's something that you saw that you're going to see inside the demo. So when you start, the user is going to have an action, and they're going to be able to choose between an About Me, a Quit, and a Start an AR experience. And if they choose About Me, they're just going to stay inside that app page, and there's going to be me talking along with a visual about who I am. If you quit at the moment, nothing's going to happen. And then, and then if you click on the Go into AR experience, you're actually going to just have this kind of idle screen that sits there. And there's going to be a bunch of menu options. Now you can either choose from the menu options on the side that are either going to just have a panel that flows out with some more information about me, or it's going to have a panel with information and audio, or it's going to be a video. Now at the same time, you could either pick on one of those buttons, or you're going to be able to use my card to have that AR experience. So what did I actually have to do? Well, first up, I needed to 3D model myself. And I haven't done too much modeling outside of messing around with existing models, except for that one time I built a lightsaber, but that's a story for another day. I felt like the most important thing here was to get my face right. I feel like think if that looked like me, hopefully the rest would pass too. Luckily, a classmate pointed me to Facemaker by Bellis 3D, a free app that could scan my head. And then for 99 cents, I was able to download the model and load that into Blender, where I smoothed it out and fixed errors. I then applied glasses and hair to complete my face. Finally, I added clothes and materials. So what I'm going to show you here is, this is just my face, and then here's the adding glasses and hair. It looks pretty good. I think it looks like me. Very cool. And then I added the material to make it look like my Bitmoji. Now, you might say this is just too many Kathleens. Three's a crowd after all. But I'm pretty happy with it, and I think it looks very consistent, and that's something that I like. So what I was able to do was, after I got it into Blender and had the FBX file, I loaded that into Mixamo, rigged it, and then animated it. And I was really excited because I found this one animation that was basically the charging pose. And I've taken this kind of pose picture of myself, the OG, all over the world. And it's also what I'm doing on my Game Changer card. So I felt like this was really my brand on point. So now I'm going to show you the complete demo of Kathleen's AR card. Here we are inside Kathleen's AR card. What you're greeted with is 3 button options. You can either choose to start the AR, you can learn a little bit about me, or you can quit. And what I've done is I've animated each of these buttons and applied a sound to them. Right now, quit doesn't do anything. You can't quit my Kathleen AR app. You can also learn a little bit about me. And what you're going to see when I open this button is it's going to be a splash screen. And I decided that I should narrate it because you are in AR. So maybe you want to just move around and you don't necessarily want to have to read all of the text. And you're also going to see that there's a button. So you could close it out, and I'm going to do that quickly. And then I'm going to open it back up and let you hear a little bit about it. Hi, I'm Kathleen Walsh, and I'm a creative. So I can close the button, it disappears, but if I want to click on it again, it'll restart. Hi, I'm Kathleen Walsh, and I'm a creative ninja. From creating presentations using Lego bricks to making short films, I let my imagination run wild. I take bold leaps to not only sell an idea, but also create a learning tool so that others see what I see. I believe that ideas trigger more ideas, and I'm motivated to explain, teach, illustrate, and interpret. I'm a holistic thinker that always has the big picture in mind, even when concentrating on details. I've always believed in the power of play, whatever your age, and I want others to know that you can do anything you want, as long as you're curious enough to learn it. I taught myself the Adobe Suite, wargaming, and many other things, including the technology you're seeing to create this AR experience. And I'm proud to have learned how ideas and creativity can be transformed through exploration and determination. I have a key interest in using games and technology overall for good. I wonder how we can use games for building social emotional skills through play. How can we use games to help people and even organizations overcome trauma so that we feel safe and loved, enabling a space for exploration, play, and cooperation? This is my big picture goal. But to help me get there, I decided I had to play first. I hope you enjoy my AR card and join me in my mission to empower others, build connections, and inspire. Okay, so once you hear that, I'm going to close down the About Me, and without any further ado, we're about to enter AR. And here we are in AR. And what you see in front of you is the initial menu screen. So we have this ability to scan a card, And what that's going to do is once my cards come into play,
I live for disruption. I like to break things and see how seemingly
it's going to take that scanned card away, and it's going to start having one of my cards tell you a little bit more about me. And all my cards have something a little bit different.
I'm a game changer.
But we'll get into that in a little bit. So what you have on the sides are buttons that you can actually learn more about me. And each of these buttons, when I click on them, they're going to expand with a panel, and all the other buttons in the scene are going to become inactive. So you can only interact with one thing at a time. And when you click on them, you also saw that the scanned card disappeared. So that particular button only has a little bit of text. Now, some of the other ones, they're a little bit longer. And as I was playing around with the design, I thought, it's not so great to have all that text on the screen. Maybe I should also speak to these as well. So for each of these buttons here, the skills, resume, and education, there's like a 30-second blurb of me just telling you a little bit about what you should take away from it so that you don't even have to read it. And on the actual skills panel, what I had wanted to do was take from my resume where I have a business capability map of myself, because at one point I business architected myself. And I wanted to be able to show that image on the screen. And I'm going to show you what that looked like. And look at this. You couldn't really read it. Not great. So then I thought, what should I do? Should I try to recreate this inside of Unity? But I didn't like that idea. So what you're going to see instead was me using the text mesh so that I could just make at least something that looked pretty nice. But again, this is really what pushed me over the edge to having a speaking role more than just the words that you see on the screen. So here are the skills.
As you can see, I have a lot of skills. I don't expect you to read them all, but what you need to know is I love to learn, and I'm constantly growing my skill sets. I'm technical, creative, and business savvy, and have a blast tinkering around. To me, discovering something I don't know presents a wonderful opportunity to add to my toolbox, and an even more difficult challenge on what I can fit on this screen.
We click it, it disappears, the scanned card comes back up. Now at any point, I can play any of my cards.
Better to get in and get wet rather than wait and observe. We can learn a lot from the ocean.
And there I go. And we're going to click on the resume.
I've had all sorts of jobs, and for most of my life, I've worked 2 or 3 at the same time. Here are a few, highlighting my artificial intelligence and personalization achievements at Verizon, my work with the Department of Defense, where I championed business architecture, creating an organizational war game, of which my work was published in the Army's AL&T magazine. I've been working as a business consultant, designing experiences and websites for almost 20 years. And I've been a professor of computer science. To learn more, check out my website, kwavecreative.com.
Well, we're going to now hit on education.
When people ask me what I do for fun, my first answer is always learn. I love learning. Not all learning is found in the classroom, but here are a few things that were. There's a quote by Dorothy Parker, "The cure for boredom is curiosity. There is no cure for curiosity." And as you can see, I'm extremely curious.
What's that, Sally? You think I'm hilarious? Well, thank you. I'm going to click on the rest here. We have an email address. We have a website, kwavecreative.com. And my favorite, you saw these guys in the beginning. Wonder Woman represents me. And if I click on her, she's going to spin, and then my stop motion video is going to play. Let's check it out.
Hi, I'm the director of an Army lab, a building block in the Army system. We serve the American warfighter. Let's take a look inside.
How's budgeting going, Bill?
Okay, I think I have all the building blocks I need.
Cool, see ya.
Bye.
Any one of these.
Time to do some budgeting and resource planning. To provide solutions to the warfighter, I can link capabilities together.
Oh no, analysis shows I have all the right people and not enough work. I don't want to put them on overhead.
Oh no! Analysis shows I don't have enough people. Should I hire? Outsource?
You're using the same capabilities. Why don't you work together?
Great idea! Business architecture is all about putting our capabilities together in the right way to give the customer what they need. The whole army can use it.
We need a new plan. We have to modernize.
Don't worry. We have everything we need right here.
And now I'm going to click on Wonder Woman. She's going to spin and the panel's going to close. And there we are. Now, I think the moment that you've all been waiting for, we're going to actually scan the cards and let them come to life. Taking my webcam, going for a ride. Here we go. All right, let's see.
I'm a game changer. Game changers find new ways of doing things and are all about transforming the future. From creating presentations using Lego bricks to stop motion, from short films to wargaming, I let my imagination run wild. And I'm all about possibilities, and I am one creative, tenacious leader.
And you'll notice at the top, I added the creative, tenacious leader. It actually matches what's on the card itself. That comes into focus. And it won't. Kathleen's still going hard. But I wanted to add that to the top because you couldn't really read the card. Now we're going to go to the next one.
What is a Playmaker? Well, I'm a big picture thinker, and let me tell you, the view is fine from up here. I have the ability to orchestrate the future, see all the different threads and options, and I rely heavily on both my intuition and network of both people and knowledge to guide me. I can simultaneously track multiple options and threads, part of which makes me such a great innovator and game designer. I lead the charge, help the team implement the correct tools and tactics, and ultimately win on a vision. I live for disruption. I like to break things and see how seemingly unrelated things can be pulled together. I believe ideas trigger more ideas, and I'm motivated to help explain, teach, and interpret. You have to go through new doors and try new things, and who knows, behind one of those doors might be an essential piece of who you were meant to be. So be fearless. I have the passion, resilience, and can-do mentality to truly disrupt. Now, could somebody get me out of this cactus? Better to get in and get wet rather than wait and observe. We can learn a lot from the ocean, see patterns, be prepared, catch the wave and ride. You'll never learn unless you immerse, try things, experience, ebb and flow. Enjoy the journey and give into the power of that flow. But be able to spot where the barrel of opportunity is and ride the wave. As a strategist, I can read the environment in a way that shapes the direction for strategic outcome. And I do that through being goal-oriented, adaptable, and willing to coach others on the vision.
Well, there you have it. Pretty fun, right? And what I like about these is they work even like here, like you saw before.
What is a Playmaker?
And I can,
well,
fly around.
I'm a big picture thinker, and let me tell you.
Big picture thinker. So some of the things that I had to actually do to make this happen, I had to modify some code. So in order to actually get the scan card to interact with the UI, I had to modify the default handler. So in order to actually make the scanner image disappear, what I had to do was on the canvas itself, I had to tag that panel to the canvas, and I also had to have an array that tracked all the audio sources that were in the screen. So that this way, when one audio source started playing, I was able to turn off everything else and not have audio speaking over each other. And what I was doing, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit, but this was out of the box functionality where this default handler, when you use an image tracker, is basically able to identify whatever that image is in the screen. But I had to come in here and I had to modify it because whenever a target was actually found, right, a card came into play, I had to turn some panels on and off so that you weren't seeing that scanned card anymore, right? It was disappearing and the outer edge was turning to blue. And I also wanted to add very specific audio to each card. So what I did was put in the name that matched what it was in my Vuforia database and loaded whatever clip I actually wanted to play. So some of the other things that I had to modify, I created an animator class. And I did this so that inside Unity, when I have all these buttons on the side, I wanted to be able to just add a new button and not have to do anything. So I wanted to set this up. So if we look, for example, at the button for the job, which is going to cause the animation for the job, I have a class called anim, and that has some things that were public. And if I go in here, you could see what those are. But if we come back, I basically am looking to see whatever the panel is. I also have to track that menu target, right? Because when I clicked on and off, this scan card went away here too. I also remember when you watched my demo, you saw that there was audio for just 3 of the buttons. Now originally I didn't have this, but I realized that I didn't want to add video or audio for all of the buttons. So what I did was I created a Boolean value so that on any button that I create, I could choose whether or not I want to include that. And then in my code, I check for this so that I don't get an error. And so if I have that has voiceover, which you'll see this one does, the skills will call the skills audio file. Now the other things that exist was I had an array of buttons. And when I come in here, I don't define how many there are. I just say buttons to hide and I make that public. So that when I come back, I could just change this number if I want, and I can keep adding buttons. And I don't have to code anything ever again. It's already in my class. So I want to hide all the other buttons when I click one, right? So I drag in the others and everything gets hidden. And then finally, I wanted to add an effect. And this button effects I have in both my scenes. So this is a script that I reuse twice. And this one is where I actually have the button sounds when you click. So the last thing I want to show you is inside my buttons, what I'm doing is I'm calling a function called openPanel. And that is tied to a value that I've set inside my animator. So every single button I set up the exact same way. And I'll show you an example of what I'm doing inside the job animator. So what is happening is you're starting out in an empty state, and we want that because when you first enter, you don't want the button to be activated. You want to wait for it to click. And every single animation I have has this Boolean value that I've added called open. And what happens is if you click, I want open to be set to true. And so open gets set to true, and what happens is the openPanel function will then get called, and inside the code, you could see here that isOpen will get set to whatever that Boolean value is. And I want to call this function called hideObjectsToggle. And what this is doing is it's actually checking whether or not isOpen is true or false. And depending on what the value is, it's going to turn on and off the scanner that you saw when I was running the activation demo. And it's going to show text and disable buttons. And if there's a voice, it's actually going to play the sound.
So the final thing I want to show you is if I go back and play this scene again,
the final function that was written is to actually toggle between the two scenes. So there's a home button. If I click that, here we are back at the home screen, Kathleen's AR card.